Hari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasho Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoru Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoru Shishimat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anandikoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Saradas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navadip Dham Ki Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4th canto, chapter 16, text number 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Asya apratitam chakram Prito Ramanas Amanasachala Vatate Bhagavan Arko Yavatapati Goganai. You'll have the sheets now. Asya pratitam chakram Prito Ramanasachala Vatate Bhagavan Arko Yavatapati Goganai Asya Pratitam Chakram Pritur Amanasacha Chalat Vatate Bhagavan Arko Yavatapati Goganai. We do the word for word. Asya, of this king, apratitam, not being impeded, chakram, the circle of influence, prito, of King Pritu, amanasa chalat, up to Manasa mountain, valtate, remains, Bhagavan, the most powerful, Arka, sun god, Yavat, just as, Tapati, shines, Goganai, with rays of light. Translation: just as the sun expands his shining rays upon the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prithu will cover all tracts of land up to the Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as he lives. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Although the Arctic region is not visible to ordinary persons, the sun shines there without impediment. Just as no one can check the sunshine from spreading all over the universe, no one could check the influence and reign of King Prithu, which should remain undisturbed as long as he lived. The conclusion is that the sunshine and the sun god cannot be separated, nor could King Prithu and his ruling strength be separated. His rule over everyone would continue without disturbance. Thus the king could not be separated from his ruling power. The translation again. Oh, okay. No, this okay, we'll move on. So it's a very short purport given by Srila Prabhupada on this particular verse. It's talking about glorifying Prithu Maharaj, his strength, his power, his influence. These are important qualities in a leader. And in the purport, Prabhupada also speaks about or mentions he will remain undisturbed as long as he lived. So not being disturbed, what does that mean? What does that mean, not being disturbed, Bilvamangal? Equipoised. And how you become equipoised? One has to be sense controlled. And when one is sense controlled, when his senses are controlled, he become very strong. And I read somewhere that even Gandhi was able to drive the British out of India to some extent. Some purity was in him, although it was done by others. Still, because of his celibacy, it had such an effect, an impact on the consciousness of the people, that people would be afraid, to even go close to him, in the sense that, if they were not pure and if they want to create some disturbance, they could not really go to such a person because of his purity. Purity is the force. Bilva Mangal says purity is the force, yes. But those are actually not Prabhupada's words. He just acknowledged that it's somebody else's words. So as you become purer, you become more powerful. And in the case of Prithu Maharaj, he was in Shakshtavesh avatar, he was an incarnation of God, but he was very, very powerful. And he had that strength to rule. And the main quality in a devotee also is his power or potency to control the senses. We may have many desires, and that's unavoidable. Desires, as it's mentioned in the Gita. There's a very beautiful verse. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravisanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sharve sasantim apnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like river into the ocean, which is ever being full but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not a man who try to satisfy such desires. So here is given, like the analogy is given here, it's very beautiful, that there's a vast ocean, and all the waters from the river is entering the ocean. But is the ocean disturbed? No. The ocean still remains steady, as Bilva said, equipoise, steady. It's not agitated. It does not cross over its brink. That doesn't happen. So that is also true of a Krishna conscious person. So a Krishna conscious person also has desires coming to him, but he still remains steady but not agitated. Because long as one has this material body, there will be demands for sense gratification. That will continue. But the devotee is not disturbed because of his fullness, because he is so absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And in Krishna consciousness, a devotee is not in need of anything. He doesn't make extraneous endeavors to get things. For preaching it's okay, but in general he's very satisfied. So what is the proof of somebody is a real, is an advanced Krishna conscious devotee? What is the proof? The proof is that he has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification. Although they are present. Although it's present, but he's lost that inclination for material sense gratification. Why? Because he's remaining satisfied in the transcendental service of the Lord. And he remains steady as the ocean, full and peaceful. But on the other hand, if you want to satisfy these desires, what happens to you? Then we run into trouble. Just like if you're desiring something, and we can't fulfill our own desires, otherwise we'll have everything. Because we're desiring many things. So we can really understand that we have many desires, so somebody else is responsible for fulfilling those desires. And it's not us. That's a conclusion to come. And but who is that person? And that's Krishna. So that's Krishna. So a leader like Prithu Maharaj and any leader should be in this situation. Should ideally be in this situation, although we may not be, and we are leaders also. I'm like talking about the outside world, the secular world. But even for us, even if we are leaders, we should try to possess these qualities in any institution we belong to. And the devotees, remain very peaceful. Even we'll discuss a little bit about Prithu Maharaj. How he did things. He didn't act in a impulsive way, very he did everything very peacefully, but at times he did also get angry. And we could discuss that. So in the Gita also they explain in the second chapter, Dhyata Visyan Pumsa Sangatesu Pajyate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodha Abhijyate. So while contemplating of the object of the senses, a person's develop attachment for them. And from such attachment develops lust and anger arises. So is anger a bad quality? And we'll see Prithu Maharaj, he was controlling the planet, and and he was also became angry. But the Gita explains that while contemplating the object of the senses, a person develop attachment for them. So that's pertaining to us. But his anger was based on the citizens, for the welfare of the citizens. It wasn't based on for his own personal sense gratification. And generally we will contemplate on the object of the senses, and we try to satisfy them in some subtle way. We try to satisfy them. Some ways we try to satisfy our senses. But a pure devotee, like even Prabhupada, when he got angry, sometimes his prasadam was late, and he would get angry also. And he was specifically one devotee was serving him at that time, Navayogendra Swami. He got very angry that it was just a minute late or so. And then he didn't know what to do. So later he asked Prabhupada, you get so angry, we don't know what to do. How should we respond to your anger? He said, you should be very happy, you should be very jubilant. Because somebody is caring for you, is protecting you. So that's a function of a leader, is to protect his subjects, like Prithu Maharaj. And it's a function of the spiritual master also to protect his disciples. It's like that. So that having said that, but for us, we may deviate. But Prabhupada in chastisement to Navayogendra Swami, he said, you should feel jubilant because somebody is caring for you. It's like, the spiritual master is like, he's very concerned about the disciple. His welfare and for him to go back to Godhead. He's very, very concerned about that. And it's like, you see many dogs, like sometimes, and Prabhupada gave this example, you see dogs, they're very lean, they're very thin, they're weak. They don't have any owners, they're just stray dogs. They're just moving around the area, and they're very weak. But you find, in the other hand, somebody who has a master, who takes care of his dog, take it to the dog parlor. It's very happy. It's wagging his tail. It's very happy, isn't it? So, having the master, the person is very happy. So like that, we as devotees, when we are under the care of a spiritual master, we should be very blissful, even if there's some chastisement in the process. Like the leader will also, chastise, and we'll discuss a little bit about it, which comes later in the in the next chapter, but we'll mention some things about anger. So anger is not a bad quality, as we think it is. Sometimes when people get angry, we say, but he's a very angry person. Like I was giving the class on Sunday, and I mentioned that humility doesn't mean that people can walk all over you. Humility means being truthful. It means, you have to say the truth. And sometimes you may not appreciate the truth. But it's an important quality. But the general, according to Prabhupada's terms, what's humility is that, not hankering for the satisfaction of being honored by others. Now, in the case of Prithu Maharaj, he wasn't looking for, people to come and say, well, he's a good king. Now, they're glorifying him here, as a great king, before he can really assume duty. Before assumption of duty, is glorified as a great king. He's not affected by that. He's not hankering for that. That is a quality of a leader. He's not hankering for these qualities of, being honored by others. Like, sometimes we speak and people say, hey, Prabhu, you gave a good class, We ask them, what did I say? But then they start thinking, well, really, I can't remember anything. So we also have that, where people may glorify you. But on the other hand, sometimes people, glorify you and you reject it. You reject that glorification. You say, no, I'm not like that. I'm worse than that. I'm a worm in the stool or whatever. You go all down to the level of nothingness. Humility, no, I'm not like that. But as soon as they say how humble you are, you want to hear that. So that's the pitfall of humility. You get it? They want to hear that part, how humble they are. That they want to hear. That's the pitfall of humility. So one has to be careful, as a leader. He renders his service, but that doesn't mean if somebody is good at something, we don't glorify them or we don't give credit to what they are good at. Because if we don't do that, then we become envious. That's what happens. The result is you become envious. Just like sometimes, like in many parts of the world, even in India, they do it a lot, is that when somebody is good at something, they give them an award, a Padma Bhushan award is given to the person for his glorious deeds. So like that, that is that's what a leader does. He acknowledges the good in the subjects, in the citizens. And the spiritual master does the same thing. He acknowledges and he loves all his disciples, but some people may be more special because of their surrender to him. So it works on that basis. So controlling our senses is very, very important. And we read in the Nectar of Instruction that one who is able to control his senses, belly, mind, belly, genitals, he can make disciples all over the world. Hare Krishna. Shishi Radharanath ki. So he could make disciples all over the world. Such a person. So how is that possible? Like even in the life of Srila Prabhupada, he convinced so many people. Because of his sense control, he was able to captivate them, to bring them under control. And he made them follow the same things, and they did. And the people who surrendered, and they followed. And they became very spiritual. and surrender to Krishna. So that's there. Sense control. The mind, the belly, the genitals, like that. So you can bring people under control. And King Prithu, because he was so sense control, all the subjects who were under his control, they couldn't defeat him in any way. They couldn't disturb him in any way. So control, talking about controlling, and that's another factor. Another characteristic of a leader is that he has that ability to control. And the way he controls by his qualities, the way what he possesses, brings the people under his control. Just like when you read in the Bhagavad Gita, what is this consciousness of I am? Because I am, if I think I'm this body, then that's like contaminated consciousness. So a leader is very broad-minded. He thinks of every subject of his as very important, and he treats them equally, with respect, with kindness, and that's what a leader is meant to do. And he doesn't discriminate on the basis of the body. Like when you look at this country as a whole now, we're going into elections, and everybody is fighting for power. Even people are trying to unite to defeat the ruling party. But you see, we cannot really compare the kings of that time to now. It's completely different, the type of leadership. But this contaminated consciousness is, as Prabhupada writes in the introduction, I am the Lord of all that I survey, and I am the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. So Prabhupada says that the material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually, we're not both. Neither I am the creator nor the enjoyer, because we are all eternal fragmental parts of Krishna. And we're meant to be enjoyed by Krishna, so we become the cooperator. That's the word he used. Cooperator. So we are talking about anger, and the leader gets angry on the basis of not he gets angry, but for a good reason. Let's put it that way, for a good reason. You had these experiences when somebody gets angry with you. Sometimes we also get angry with the person. We think, why is he behaving like that? But in any institution, the leader from time to time has to correct, and sometimes he has to be a little hard with the subject or the person under his care. So even in the later chapter, we'll read about how Prithu Maharaj was chastising earth. Because at that time, and now, Prithu Maharaj had been awarded the throne and put on the throne by the sages and the brahmanas. But still there was like a problem, and he had to address the problem. And the problem was there was a scarcity of food grains. And the people became very skinny due to starvation. So when the citizens are suffering, like When you have some challenge, you'll go to the spiritual master and in devotional practices. So the citizens would go to the king or the leader, and they informed him about the real situation, because it was the duty of the king to protect the citizens. But when somebody is starving, when somebody is in pain, it's like really, it's they can do anything. They can kill to eat, or they can do so many different things, because it's very painful. And there was, the citizens were saying, well, just like like a tree, which has a hollow trunk, and if there's fire inside, it's burning. Although there could be rain outside, it doesn't put that fire off inside. So a hungry person is like that, it's like he's hungry and he's burning inside. And they're saying, Prithu Maharaj, that you're the protector of the surrendered souls. And you also have to give us employment, which is a very difficult thing even nowadays for our government to do. They try to create so much of employment. They tried a lot. Actually, you may not know. They did a lot. They would employ people on contractual basis for 3 months, 2 months. They appoint assistants in different institutions in the government sector, just to help a qualified person, just to create employment. There's many like that, many initiatives by the government, and they're trying to create employment because that is one of their functions. And then and therefore they're saying, King Prithu, that this is what you're supposed to be doing. But we have come to you for protection. But at the same time, remember that he's also the incarnation of God. So they were thinking like, okay, we need protection. We need to be satisfied. We need food. Otherwise we will die if we don't get food. So when the leader hears that, if somebody is pleading to him that this is my situation, then the leader needs to act on that plea. That this is my situation, it's a pitiable situation, so what I'm going to do for the person. That's what a leader does. So Prithu Maharaj, he saw that, these people were in this condition. Not that he responded immediately. That's another quality of a leader. That he doesn't just respond immediately or be impulsive, but rather he contemplates this matter for a long time. And then you look at the underlying causes of the situation that we are in at the present, or whatever the complaint is on. You don't just act, impulsively. There must be some, because you see, there are immediate causes and there are remote causes. One acts on the immediate cause but does not look what's behind it. It's like, I switch the light on, on the switch, but there's cables running, there's a power box, it's coming from a power source. That energy is coming from another source. So that's the remote cause. So like this, he contemplated. So this contemplation, like we contemplate started contemplating on the object of the senses. But Prithu Maharaj was contemplating on the matter on how to free the citizens from this pain. And that's a very important quality of a leader. I'm not specifically talking of a spiritual institution. It applies to all institutions. Wherever you are, then you consider it. It's like often when, Personally, for myself, I was serving in the government. And whenever people came to me, I thought about it. So African people would travel for many, many hours just to come and see us, to query something. They may not have got paid properly, they're underpaid, or they're having some issues, their medical aid is not paid, they can't go to the doctor, they don't have approval from the state, like that. So many issues. But I always considered that this person has come so far. It must be like about 3-4 hours drive they would have to take from the rural areas to come. And then imagine if you say that person, I can't help you, he has to go back. So it's very painful. But here you see Prithu Maharaj, he was contemplating as to what the underlying causes are. And that's an important quality in a leader. So he takes cognizance of that and acts on it. What do you think of that? Prabhus? Then he arrived at a conclusion. When he arrived at that conclusion, then he took up his bow and arrow and he aimed at the earth. He was attacking the earth. But the earth, he saw Prithu Maharaj with a bow and arrow, and she became afraid. So there's fear. And this fear is also caused because one is in the bodily concept of life. So as long as one be in the bodily concept of life, he's afraid. Like we were at the campus the other day, and we were explaining to the students that how we are all afraid of dying. Just like a bird, it's pecking the grains on the ground, but it keeps looking aside, it keeps looking. Why is it doing that? It's afraid of death. Why do you stop at the red robo? You're driving, you could just drive through, but why do you stop? Because you're afraid of death. Because that's the rule of the road, but why? Why is the rule of the road? Because if you move across, you'll knock somebody and you'll kill them. And they have signs, drive safely, so many things. Don't kill. So like this, earth became afraid. And she began to tremble. And then, naturally, when somebody is in fear, they like to run away if they're being attacked. But the earth is, Mother Earth is very intelligent, and she took the form of a cow, but we'll come to it later. I don't want to discuss it in detail. And in order to avoid King Prithu's arrows. So now that she took the form of a earth, of a cow, you could not really attack her or kill her, because in the Vedic system, you don't kill a cow or you don't attack a woman. But then he chased her. He did chase her because he was angry, because she was responsible for causing this pain. So when somebody causes pain to the subjects, then it's normal. It's important to take some action. And the cow, it ran into into outer space between the heavenly planet and earth. But Prithu Maharaj, because he was such a powerful king, he could go through even to the heavenly planets. He could move into outer space, and he chased her. Just like somebody is, when death comes, when Yamaraj is coming, chasing the person, and very strong. But then the earth addresses the king. Please save me. because you're the protector of all living entities. And that's the point. Everybody is treated equally in the eyes of the government. The leader has to see everybody equally, in the sense that he has to make provisions for everybody. But seeing equally, that's another discussion. Maybe. Anyway, so she was pleading for assistance. So when somebody pleads for assistance, it is incumbent or important from the leader's perspective to give that protection, because that is a function of the leader, the ruler. And as the earth was pleading, he said, I'm very poor, and I've not committed any sinful activities. So why, I don't know why you want to kill me. And then, just let me read that. Yeah, why you want to kill me? So like this, it's a long discussion which you will come to towards the latter part of the 17th chapter. But I'll just read this. And this is because you see, earth was hiding all the grains because of the people's sinful activities. So Prithu Maharaj come to the conclusion, say, you are very much puffed up with pride and you've become almost insane. Personally, you have assumed the form of a cow by your mystic powers. Nonetheless, I shall cut you into small pieces like grain, and I'll uphold the entire population by my personal mystic powers. This was the potency because of the king. He also had that mystic powers where he could kill earth but still uphold the entire population. That is how powerful he was. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes a very interesting, I found this, I always remember this purport. I read it maybe a few decades ago, but I love this purport, which I just read this morning. The earth informed King Prithu that if he destroyed her, he and the subjects would all fall down into the waters of the Garbha ocean. King Prithu now replies to that point. Although the earth assumed the shape of a cow by her mystic powers in order to be saved from being killed by the king was aware of the fact and would not hesitate to cut it to pieces, just like small bits of grain. As far as the destruction of the citizens is concerned, Maharaj Prithu maintained that he could uphold everyone by his own mystic powers. He did not need the help of earthly planet. Being the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Prithu Maharaj possessed the power of Shankarshan, which is explained by the scientists as the power of gravitation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is holding millions of planets in space without any support. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj would not have had any difficulty supporting all his citizens and himself in space without the help of planet Earth. The Lord is known as Yogeshwara, master of all mystics. Consequently, the planet Earth was informed by the king that she need not worry about his standing without her help. Then, it's a long discussion, but anyway. But the power, here the power of Prithu Maharaj can be seen. And he was saying that how, we'll cut it to pieces. And Prabhupada was saying in his purport that, yes, and give the people to eat cow flesh. We'll cut it to pieces. So, in one place in the Bhagavatam, it's supported that if there's no other foodstuffs, then one can be given that animal species or cow. So King Prithu is a very, very powerful king. We spoke about control of senses. We spoke about the qualities of a leader. But these things do also affect us, as we practice devotional service, and we also have that desire sometimes to control within our environment. There was a time in Calcutta when, it was around 1969. So, there were devotees who were very new and they will all guard Prabhupada. But so and that was the system, and as time evolved, some people got closer to Srila Prabhupada. But in 1974, somewhere in 1974, at the Calcutta temple, there was a devotee called Pushkar, and he was sitting outside the courtyard in the veranda in the Calcutta temple. So there was no door on his room, there was only a curtain. So suddenly Shrutikirti Prabhu said, if anybody want to come and sit with Prabhupada. So the devotee thought, well, I could go alone, but then he realized there was another devotee there. His name was Achyutananda, who was there. So around that time, there was another devotee called Hamsaduta, who was collecting money by selling this devotee Achyutananda's record, and he was keeping the money. So he was keeping the money. And Achyutananda and Gaga Muni, they've been complaining about this to Prabhupada. So anyway, these two devotees, when they went in, he didn't say anything. Pushkar Prabhu didn't say. But Achyutananda said, Prabhupada, the Japanese and the Germans lost World War II. But now it seems like they are taking over ISKCON. So we may also have this idea, like controlling and taking over ISKCON. Then he was thinking, why is this devotee telling Prabhupada like this? Then Achyutananda said, well, Hamsaduta, he's a German, and Bali Mardan's wife is a Japanese, and they're destroying the movement. So Prabhupada said, why are you so concerned with this man, what this man does and what the other man does? Why do we, because sometimes when something happens, why are we so concerned? We start looking into faults in both of them. Because your relationship is actually with the Guru. It doesn't matter whether the man, what this man does or what that man does. But if you have faith in the Guru, then everything will be revealed to you. That's what Prabhupada said. Faith in me, in the Vedas and the sadhus. So this is very instructive. That yes, sometimes we may want to take over something. We have to be careful also whether we have those potency to help the subjects. And I'll end up with this, so I'll just read this. This is a very beautiful letter by Srila Prabhupada to Mandali Bhadra in 1969. And you always, in leadership there must be controversy. It's unfortunate. You're going to have always two sides. You're always going to have an opposition party in this world. It could be, many opposition parties. And even in spiritual practices, you'll have oppositions. Just like in a national program, different political parties are sometimes in conflict and make propaganda against each other. But their central point is always service to the country. That's the central point. Similarly, amongst disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, there may be some controversy, but the central point is how to preach the mission of His divine grace. If the central point is fixed up, then there is no harm in such controversy. Every individual being must have his opinion. That is the significance of individuality. But all such difference of opinions must coincide in Krishna. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there was Arjuna and Bhishma who were fighting with one another. And because Krishna was on the side of Arjuna, sometime Bhishma pierced the body of Krishna also with arrows. But still, They remained the greatest devotees of the Lord, and Krishna accepted the friendship of Arjuna just as he accepted the inimical errors of Bhishma in the same loving spirit. So you do not be disturbed by such controversial points. Better you engage your mind very seriously in the matter of the service entrusted upon you. That will make you progressive in Krishna consciousness. How that sounds? Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Just like, Krishna is being showered with arrows by Bhishma, but he's taking it like a lover is biting him. That's how he's taking it, with so much of affection. Just like when a lover bites the partner is not feeling pain. He's feeling pleasure. So it's like that. So we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna. Comments? Questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you, Balaprabhu.